with this book, it was all consistently good.
I was disappointed by the lack of battle sequences. The general consensus is this book is better than book 1.
I love hating Lancelot. It's my favorite thing in this book. Welcome everyone to the Tudor Ramble podcast. My name is Richard.
My name is Austin.
Today we're talking about the great Bernard Cornwell's second book, Enemy of God, in the series
The Warlord Chronicles.
Thank you.
Yes.
We talked about the very first book, The Winter King. I don't know if it's on the video, but it's there.
I think it made it.
I think it's still in frame.
If it's not, I'll make sure it makes it.
Good. Okay.
It was an awesome book
in
one.
Post.
Yeah, in post. a book one, which you could check our review on that. So we always do spoiler free for the first 10-ish minutes or so. So we are going to be talking about book one in the spoiler free section for book two. So if you want to be convinced to read the series, go check out that other video. But this is going to be spoiler free for book two for the next 10 minutes or so.
Yep.
On Enemy of God.
So where we left off with book one, spoilers again.
For book one, not two.
Book one,
Yeah.
not book two. For me, I want to just refresh people's minds on my thoughts of it a little bit. The first book, it slowly grew on me. It was not an exponential graph of interest. It was a completely linear graph that every single part got better and better till the end. And when I got to the end, I was like, I really want to read book two. But I didn't know I would have that reaction from part one to part two to part three.
Yeah.
But eventually it did wow me. I really enjoyed it. And book two is a little different. I was equally invested the entire time. There was no real spike or valley. It was just really great the entire time.
It was constant. It was a constant feel. You didn't get...
Yes.
It was not the hump of before. It was not the roller coaster ride up. This one was just more you were already...
I was
you were going
already
straight,
there.
But okay.
So I had a good time. But we're left off with book one, Derfel Cadern.
Yeah. Dervel. As Philip...
It's Dervel?
Philip Chase, who check out him, an amazing booktuber. He studied Celtic and studied the language. And he's a doctor, okay? Dr. Chase, he pronounces all these names the way they're supposed to. The audiobook narrator who we listen to,
Derfel,
is amazing. He's an amazing audiobook
narrator. Audiobook narrator, but he gets the pronunciation wrong.
But apparently it's Dervel.
Dervel.
Apparently.
That's going to be really hard to beat into my brain.
So we might be saying Derfel, Dervel, but we're talking about that character, trying. Yes. Sorry, I know that some people out there get serious about their Arthurian legend stories.
Fair enough. Anyway, we're left off with Dervel actually getting his revenge, along with Nimue, on the person who killed his mother, or so we say, or tried to kill him. And basically we're left in a place where Arthur is now the kind of, but not so king of Britain.
And Merlin at the end of the last book is like, hey, I'm going to go get a cauldron. It just kind of storms through the battlefield and says, if you're going to follow me, please. And we get basically that book one was about uniting Britain and against the Saxon invaders. And you get to see Arthur from Dervel's point of view. And that narration style continues into book two, where, again, this is my first ever Arthurian tale that I've read. But the spin from people that have read a lot of Arthurian tales is that a lot of the times it's not taken from a standpoint of this first Dervel character, but it's written in a way to where it feels like the real Arthurian legend story, even though it's a mythos, or it's debated. Is there a real King Arthur? Who was he? This makes it feel so real because our protagonist, Dervel, the entire time is writing this and in his older years, but is kind of embellishing some of the things like we saw in book one, embellishes the return of Arthur and seeing him for the first time is going, oh, and Arthur came and saved the day. And then you find out in modern day, he's going, well, we all knew Arthur was kind of in the woods. It's just, I'm adding a little bit of flair to it. That's how history goes. You always embellish the myth. When we're going on a cruise in a week, you think we're going to come back and be like, hey, we ate and read? No, we're going to say, wow, the food was, could you tell
it was magical.
It was an experience. The ocean it watered. like no other water I've seen. You always talk about that with stories, but that perspective from book
we
one.
made dolphin friends out the port side window.
Yeah, when in reality it was just Rich and I acting like dolphins in the water, and you go, oh, that's much lamer when you say it that way. So yeah, that I love the framing of the book one. Continues with book two, and spoiler-free thoughts for you, Rich, on book two. You said you had a straight line. You were already the book one kind of inclined for you over time, but this one you were just invested throughout. There was no spikes and valleys for you.
No, except for the ending, I think was I had a particularly exciting moment where I couldn't put the book down, where I got home after my car ride and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to stop there. I got to keep going. And so I just read through the rest of the book. So the ending really hooked me in. I was exhilarated. So yeah.
Nice.
Really great book all around.
And I had a mini book club in our Patreon. Shout out to our Patreon and our patrons. Go check out our book club down below if you want to join us. So we had a quick discussion, and Albert and Josh specifically, others as well. Sorry, I'm not shouting everybody out, but Albert's the one who got us to read the series in the first place.
Yep.
And Josh, this is one of his new favorite books, Enemy of God. When you'll hear generally, at least in our bubble and in the booktube community, generally speaking, book two and book three, but definitely book two is seen as people's favorites. They do like this much more in general. So you'll see that online, that book two is very well acclaimed. And book one, for some people, it takes time to incline and get more invested in it. But this one, also the Gwyn brothers, shout out to the Gwyn brothers out there, who they've read this trilogy, and to them, book one was a great setup, but then books 2 and 3 are bang, bang. Yeah. That's what you'll typically see online. But your specific Rambler rating, Rich, is what?
I have this at a 4.0. A great book.
I like that you put the 0.0 just to tease me if it gets a 2.5. A 4.
I think this book was great.
Yeah. I gave this a 3.75. I thought it was really good. And I think when we go through the categories on a quality basis, a lot of those are higher than my actual emotional reaction to the book.
We are a men of two minds. I'm just going to give you the spoiler look. Look at my rating just right off the bat. Exactly what you're talking about.
That's pretty much mine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty much. Actually, do they want to see our overall ratings right below? Here.
We could.
Pop them up on screen.
There you go. Yeah. I don't know. Can you read that?
Mine are written in a long document. So here, Nick, if you would please put our ratings right here below. Yeah. Bang, there they are. But yeah,
new little thing.
Keeping it spoiler free. Actually, nice new notepad. Very nice.
I love Supernote. Hey, Supernote, you ever want to actually spend money on a marketing budget? I'd love it. I'd love it if you gave us money. I'll give you a free ad though. Get a Supernote. It's pretty great.
No, they don't need to pay us anymore.
Damn. Darn it.
Should have hooked them in.
I should have. Why am I giving out free advertisements?
So
I've done that to a couple different companies. That's not good for me.
Libro.fm instead of Audible. If you want an alternative, Libro.fm.
Not once sponsored us, and I have mentioned them many times. I really like their product. If we haven't talked about I want to take a quick aside. It's a podcast. Because it's going to be late if we don't talk about it any later. Right now, the booktube space is Audible controversy with everything that they're doing to authors and their new payment scheme and all that nonsense. If you want an actual alternative to Audible, the first thing you can do, and I say this with one caveat, is try out Libro.fm. Reason why I love it personally, there's a bunch of other reasons maybe you can like it, but you can actually download books without the DRM, so you actually own the goddamn book. There's no other place that does that. I've looked around on a regular consistency level. So it operates just like Audible, but part of your money goes to a local bookstore and you get to download it for a DRM free. So we have mentioned the Audible thing. We are aware, but
a very small thing I like about Libro.fm compared to Audible too is when you press the take a note button. So when you click on your audiobook, if you want to jot down a quick thought at a certain point in the audiobook, on Audible, you'll click it, it'll stop the audiobook, and then you type in your note. On Libro, you'll click it, and it'll keep the audiobook on in the background while you type your quick note. Because I'm never typing in long essays. I'm just going, oh, I like this scene, or something, so I can go back to it later. And Libro lets you just keep going. And it saves me 10 seconds every time.
I have never once used the actual UI from Libro. Oh. I don't have the app downloaded. I never use their app or infrastructure. I have no idea how it works or even if it's good. comparatively. So
I like that version. That little.
I'm glad
trick.
you like it.
So let's see. Libro, we're sponsored by. We're not sponsored by.
We're not.
What was the other one you mentioned? The
Supernote.
Supernote.
Yep.
Great. And now the book we're talking about. We're also not sponsored by
Anyway,
Bernard Cornwell. However,
I wish.
we do enjoy this series. Now, the difference between book 1. So, did you like book 2 better than book 1? Because I think your rating for book 1 was 3 something, if I remember correctly. It was like a. Was it 5 or 3.75, something like that? I remember, right?
I believe it was a 3.75.
Okay. So, do you like this one more?
Yes, I think it's
still spoiler free. Sorry, because I know we went off on a tangent. But
spoiler free. But I think I think this is a marginally better book.
Mm-hmm.
However, the trajectory, I liked the ramp. I was so surprised by the ending for the first book that I enjoyed the ramp up. It was dynamic. With this book, it was all consistently good. There wasn't anything particularly shocking. I think there were 2 scenes we'll get into where I had a big moment of like, yes, I had an outburst of emotion. But everything else it's just a technically well done book. And so I gave it that credit. So it is skewed.
My same thoughts too is this. It's a technically the qualities of the book are the prose, the writing style, how he immerses you in the world, the plot structure. I don't have any complaints or flaws with the book at all.
Yeah.
As far as the structure goes, this one was more so just a emotions and ideas aspect. Where book 1, I loved book 1.
Yep.
And this book, although it does different things, it's an Arthurian story, and if you've read Arthurian tales or just know the general lore, you know certain beats usually happen in Arthurian stories. I'm less versed than other people are. So it does all of that. It doesn't do any of that incorrectly or wrong. The difference in the attachment, book 1 to book 2 treads on ideas, themes, and this obviously it continues all the same characters from book 1. Okay, let me make this make sense. Arthur in book 1 for me and these characters were so well done and defined, and the themes and ideas already so well explored and set up, but also tackled, that book 2 continued with those characters and themes. I still liked it, still enjoyed it. But if I'm judging this book on its own, Arthur for me in book 1 was a completely developed character. Like I understood Arthur completely in book 1. Yeah. I got him.
Well, I was so fascinated to learn more about him and the shocking moments with what is Arthur going to do? Mm-hmm. And asking those questions in book 1 was a ton of fun. And seeing maybe the legends in your own head being broken down. In book 2, you know how Arthur's operating. For the most part, I don't think you're given many moments of like, what will Arthur do? I mean,
Derville gets a lot more of the story here in this one too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Arthur himself kind of takes a back seat in this book compared to Derville, Derville, sorry.
Yeah. Part of that for me was, and the ideas, when we're going to talk our first 2 categories, emotion and thought provokingness, that's where I'll say those were my 2 lowest categories for this one. My highest was prose. And that was generally because all the things explored in this book are done very well. It's just, it didn't expand on books 1 stuff as much as I would personally have wanted it to. Because again, the Arthur stuff we get, of all the decisions he makes, which are interesting stuff, I already knew and expected. Like, this is the Arthur, I already got him. And the ideas and themes, all that explored, like I already felt very fulfilled from book 1 as well. So now I'm continuing the story. I'm interested in where it ends. But yeah, it's just more of the, not a middle book syndrome, not a book 2. It doesn't fall flat. It just continues on an enjoyable ride that I think people listening in, the general consensus is this book is better than book 1. So I think you would probably think it higher than I do. Especially for me, because I liked book 1 better than book 2. You seem to be kind of close with both of them.
I'm close.
So
it's different aspects done differently.
Yeah.
And so which one do you rate? I give the slight edge to the book 2.
So we're beating around the bush because of spoiler free. Let's finally get into spoilers so we can actually say what we're talking about in this breezy conversation. Yep. All right. Spoiler warning for Enemy of God. We will be spoiling book 2. So sit down, get ready for our Arthurian tale. You ready?
Yep.
Emotional impact. What did you give out of 5 stars? Well, I saw what you did.
You did
showed me. Yeah.
But I gave it a 3.75.
I gave it a 3.5. A good emotion.
I think it was really good. We were talking about kind of the steady nature of it. However, there were a couple moments for me that really stood out and were more reminded me of book one, the kind of surprises, the turning moments for me compared to book one. But for me, the key moments, I believe there's two. There's two or three moments to me that really stood out.
I have three written down. Let's see if they're the same three.
The first moment that I was kind of cheering out loud, and I actually think I did call you about it, was, Dervel running away with Kynwyn and, defying Arthur's will and all this stuff, and then finally Arthur coming to Dervel and supposedly to give him a talking to and to maybe punish him. And Arthur immediately just tells him, how could I judge you, my friend, for, falling in love and doing what I have done? I cannot blame you.
I can't be a hypocrite.
I can't be a hypocrite. I don't blame you. But hey, if not Mordred, if Guinevere asks, I gave you a thrashing and, I said some stern words. All right. But I'm very happy for you, my friend.
It's like that kid getting in trouble with his parents. The dad comes in the room and says, hey, just tell your mother I gave you a talking to, okay?
All right. I loved how kind Arthur was and how not a hypocrite he is. He's an actual kind person, a kind friend, all the stuff in that moment. And I was just really happy for that moment of like, I see why Dervel likes Arthur so much. And so that was a big moment for me. The second moment is kind of everything surrounding Arthur deciding to let the child die and not protecting Tristan.
Yes, Tristan, and I have the character written down, but let me pull up the
basically the child bride of 14, which, look, you try and X out of those. A historical book, okay, just move on. But still, that moment for me was...
Yep, I'm just getting the name. Isilt. Queen Isilt of Karnau.
Queen Isilt. And it's not necessarily her death. It was Arthur's processing of it. And more specifically, I enjoyed, Dervel actually standing up to Arthur in this moment and not taking his shit and not falling for, Arthur's, silver tongue. But more so, it's the scenes after that of Arthur bringing the child's father to talk to Dervel and get like Arthur having a conversation with the child's father of like, tell Dervel that you didn't care about the child, and then child's nothing, and that Dervel should be my friend, that you've moved on. And to do that to like the father of the child you let die. And as a overtly manipulative tactic to try and guilt Dervel and back into friendship. That disgusted me. I actually actively disliked Arthur from that moment on, like, one of his biggest flaws of like everything else, the whole, manipulator or just charismatic. I looked like dirtbag move. And it just was slimy and pathetic. It was so pathetic of Arthur to do that, to claw back his friendship with Dervel when, in all honesty, a simple apology and a heartfelt, just actually tell Dervel you're sorry, maybe even you regret the decision, or even just ask for it humbly back.
It's the emotional manipulation
I hated that. And I hated Arthur for that moment. Like that was a big emotional moment for me. And then the last was Kynwyn being in trouble and everything surrounding the ending. I thought I was on the edge of my seat of like, no, not Kynwyn, not the girls. Come on, Dervel. Save the day. And I was excited.
Were you impacted by their daughter dying?
Yes. You know something is going to happen, and you're just dreading it. You know something's going to happen, but yeah, I felt it. I felt for Dervel in that moment. Main thing is it's written in a way that it's the highs and lows. Oh, Dervel's not going to make it. Oh, Dervel did make it. Oh, but she's trapped. Oh, we got her back. Oh, Merlin comes. It was back and forth. And you think He saves the day, and it's just passing moment, or maybe even accidental, and she's dead. Oof, hurt. Those were my big 3 emotional moments.
Yeah.
But other things to me were lackluster. And so that's 3 out of the rest of the book. And so that's why I think it's really, really good.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't go higher.
The other
What about
scenes,
you?
you were just going from the big emotional scene to the next one, and the in between you were interested, but you weren't
Yes.
high on your emotions. Gotcha. Yeah, the first one you mentioned with Arthur coming up to Dervel and him having a speaking to him, but actually just saying, "Hey, I understand why you did this." The best part about that whole sequence for me was Dervel snapping the bone that Merlin gave him. The decision there of when it came to the wedding day between Lancelot and Cynwyn, when it came to that decision, and Dervel in his head is not snapping the bone yet, because Merlin hands him this and says, "Hey, if you want Cynwyn to marry you, and if you want this to be your bride, and just do it, and then come on this cauldron mission with me, you have the option to do this." And is that magic actually real? That's the question. Probably.
This book, it's pushed a bit more.
Maybe not. Maybe it's murky, but
Kinda.
with that,
Less so in
but
this book.
This one, the snapping bones thing, why it seems it's not. It was just told that it's this magic thing that Dervel could do. But the thing I love was the decision making, where he's not doing. Then he finds reason after reason after reason of, wait, I love Cynwyn. Lancelot, this bastard, and just it's stacking until he finally just breaks, literally, then breaks the bone, and it just has this emotional moment where he does it, and then finds out that Cynwyn was already plotting with Nimue and Merlin to begin with. But the fact that Dervel did do it, you kind of see his character come out there of, no, he's willing to bite. And just like we saw at the end of book 1, he will take revenge. And we clearly see in book 2, he's willing to take revenge for the ones that killed his daughter as well. I have it highlighted here. Maybe I'll save it for Prose, the scene at the end. I'll say that for Prose section, because that's where this story for me, just the beats that could be very boring or kind of milquetoast are made better because Cornwell's writing this stuff in a very engaging way. Like that one scene with Dervel, and then you get to talking with Arthur. That part for me actually was the peak of the novel for me. So early on, that beginning
part.
Yeah, and end of part 1, because it's in, is it 4 parts or 5 parts? I have it written down here. It's 4 parts. Yeah. So in the 4 parts of the book, it is 4. I checked. Yeah. So in the 4 parts of the book, the end of part 1 with the whole marriage ceremony and the breaking, that for me was probably my emotional high, and I still like the rest. But a book that peaks that early for me and didn't, I still got the same stuff you mentioned too, where it's also exciting and something tragic as well. But the other beats I had written down that were mostly good was Guinevere and Isis sleeping around with everybody,
which you see in book 1 of like,
Gunlius was
probably
lying. Yeah,
maybe exaggerating, but probably not lying. But then again, I think we are supposed to question that to some degree. But mainly because I don't know if Bernard Cornwell wants us to question that, because Nimue's reaction afterward as well is maybe interesting. So it is possible. It is possible because it's mainly looking at her motivations, and I actually do sympathize with Guinevere to some degree of her being fairly transparent with Arthur of like why she went for him in the first place, her ambitions, what she wants out of a partner. And Arthur just saying like, nope, we're going to raise cattle. Going over and over. And ultimately I'm not looking down on Guinevere for being a hooer. It's more,
you pronounced it correctly though.
I did pronounce it correctly. It's more for being a snake. I don't like her because she's a snake in the grass. And that's what I don't like about her. She is a betrayer. She is an opportunist.
Ambitious.
Willing to screw over everyone for her own selfish desires, and takes the kindness and loyalty of others very frivolously. And ultimately, like, that is what I don't like about her. Like, it seems as she genuinely cares about Lancelot, or is at least charmed by him, but she's attracted to power. It's what she wants.
She manipulates the manipulator.
Yeah. And so her going at, like, again, it's from book 1 of you see Guinevere manipulating Arthur, and maybe she likes him, maybe not, but you see her primary attraction is to power, not Arthur. And so when Arthur is saying, like, yeah, give away power, I don't want power, and she's like, that's why I'm with you in the first place. And she's not coy about it either.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that was an emotional scene for especially Arthur. I thought it was well set up, but yeah.
And we had the battle at Aiel, where Merlin released the female dogs. That scene.
Yeah.
The bitches. I was trying not to use a term they used, but we've already said it all now.
It is.
It's literally bitches.
It's literally bitches.
It's not the we hear that in slang all the time, but literally they released female dogs to stop the Saxon attack, or the dogs that they sent, and it's you could see how effective that is in battle. And that is probably my biggest disappointment with book 2. Was that, okay, everybody told me how much I loved book 1, that book 2, wow, it's going to blow you away. And obviously when your expectations kind of get hyped up a bit, it really has to land in order to hit. So it could be a part of expectations, but I was disappointed by the lack of battle sequences, or the not as much as I would have expected, because I do love that in Cornwell's prose. And hey, not that every book has to have this, but in an Arthurian legend, I guess I did expect and was promised a bit more.
Nothing came to the ending of book 1's battle sequence was not topped in this book.
Yeah, it was very exciting in book 1, and I think I had some things I was looking for that just weren't there. The book didn't do, because that is something that I'm hoping book 3 does. Because
I'm sort of expecting it.
I has to, right? It's the finale of the trilogy. Yeah,
Derval loses his hand. I imagine the battle where Derval loses his hand is going to be epic.
Or he lost it sewing. And
that would also be a Bernard Cornwell thing to do.
That could happen. Maybe he gets a little side hustle, little early.
That's actually
early medieval.
That's probably it. There's probably going to be something real stupid. You thought
the round table was cool? No, actually, like the round table wasn't effective.
The queen eventually asked him, like, so how did you lose your hand? Was it in the last epic battle for Camelot? And he's like, yeah, I got an infection.
Yeah.
And they just had to cut it off.
Yep.
It was real unfortunate.
I couldn't get the stitch to work well with the leather. Honestly, it's not a stretch.
That's not a stretch, but still.
But yeah, that's mainly for me. So good emotionally, and I think book 3 will top it for me.
I hope you're right.
I'm expecting that. But yes, anything else you wanted to say for emotional impact? Other scenes that stuck out to you? Because you cover your 3 main scenes, so I don't know if you have much else to add.
Sure, but I think another thing it ties a little bit into characters, but I think it's worthy bringing up in the emotional impact section is the love story and romance between Kywin and Derval. I think it's handled really well. I think on its own, really well done. But in comparison to Arthur and Guinevere, that comparison makes it all the more lovely, especially closer to the end, before Arthur finds out that Guinevere has betrayed him for Lancelot. Their conversation of what love is, I thought was so great. And just, you really see the difference, and I think a significant amount of jealousy for Arthur, and how much he's probably missing out of. The main thing is all the things that Arthur actually wants does align with what Kywin wants. Kywin doesn't want to be queen. Kywin would love the small house at the end of the valley, just raising kids and, raising farm animals. Like, that is her dream and ambition. She wants to do that. Same thing with Arthur. And Arthur threw that away. And he sees it's not about necessarily Kywin, but that Derval has the love that Arthur kind of wishes he wants. Anyway, I like that.
Wish he had what?
Just talking about what they like to talk about. Like, what do you talk about with Kywin? And he's like, well, we just talk about, the maids that whatever has to be done the next day, or we talk about the children. We talk all just the mundane daily things.
Yeah.
And when Arthur goes, yeah, we mostly just talk about Isis. Which, that's a sentence to be clipped.
Not that ISIS.
But yeah, no, just always talking about, politics, the throne, the gods, everything. And yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, their relationship in book 1, you see him have this infatuation with Nimue early on, but then you see the shift into Kindwin. And in book 2, I wasn't sure, because I don't know Arthurian tales. I don't know if this is a typical thing. I wasn't sure if they would get together in the first place. I was kind of surprised. Maybe we can talk more of this in plot, but surprised that the Cauldron mission was just part 1. Remind me in plot to talk about that, because that is I want to see what your expectations were. What the whole Merlin subplot that we can get into. Yeah. Wait, do you want to go on to thought-provokingness?
Yeah, let's move on.
What did you give it out of 5 stars?
The same score, 3.75. I think it was really good. I'm mainly tying into the thoughts on love, what, not just the good example, I'd say, of Dervel and Kywin, but its antonym with Arthur and Guinevere, of love not just being about the infatuation, but more about a sharing of goals, all these aspects. I think that was really well done. What is the nature of oaths as a carry on from book 1, the costs of it, what is the purpose of it? Love all that stuff.
Yeah, I give it a 3.5. Good themes. And on the oaths part, anything that this book that you took away from oaths, or was it, I guess, what did you take away that was the message about oaths? Because they're presented as being complex, where Arthur holds the oaths like their gospel, but also can break an oath and try to make up for it as best he can. So how do you view it through Arthur's lens versus Dervel's lens of what oaths are?
I think there's a reason why. I think, and maybe this is coming from Dervel's point of view.
Yeah.
But Dervel seems to have a better track record of actually keeping oaths. And I think it's because this is something that the actual interesting point about it, an oath being a technical thing, the words themselves don't have a power. And so, an oath loosely made will be loosely held. And Arthur puts so much weight into the process and the technicality of an oath. Like, you make an oath and that means you keep it. Versus, and he doesn't struggle making them. Like, well, if he struggles with a decision, he uses an oath as a crutch of, if I make an oath, I will keep it, of course. And then it leads him down all these, wrong turns, and he competing all these different oaths. Versus Dervel, I think there's a couple key examples with, particularly something that stuck out to me is his oath to the god of war. What is Mithril?
Yes,
he takes it seriously. It's not something to be so the fact that Arthur keeps trying to push Dervel to break the oath and actually betray his ideals and accept Lancelot into the cult of Mithril is Arthur is looking at it as like, it's just words, and it's just say the thing. It doesn't matter. It'll help me politically. But to him, that oath is just words. And so it's a loosely held oath, ultimately degrading the organization overall. Dervel takes it seriously. It's not, he doesn't make an oath lightly. He tries not to. And so he ultimately refuses, like, nope, I made an oath to the god of Mithril that if I'm going to induct a member, I actually have to believe they are a great warrior. I know Lancelot is not a great warrior. I have not seen him fight once. He ran away every time. And so...
But the poems.
Yeah, but the poems. So he keeps to that oath. When you go back to the round table of Arthur is so focused on just getting the people to say the words. Say the word, just make up now. I'm going to force you by the point of a sword. Say the words, make the oath. And ultimately, if all falls apart, it's worthless.
An oath under being compelled by gunpoint, by sword point.
Yeah. And it just shows the significant difference of how an oath should not be taken lightly, and an oath itself does not have power. It is a result of it is a result of conviction. It doesn't make conviction. And so when you're bringing up the initial scene with Dervel and breaking the bone, that was hard for him. He didn't make that. That was not lightly. Arthur would have broken the bone instantly.
Well, he literally didn't book once.
He
Like,
wouldn't
what,
care.
Guinevere, yeah, I will marry her because he does it so quickly out of those whims.
Whatever he wants, whatever whims, it doesn't. Their words, all of it is. Everything is just a tool to get him where he wants to go, rather than a significant. It's not any particular aspect. It's not significant to him. Dervel takes it seriously. He does not make that oath. He doesn't use the magic lightly, and that happens almost every single time. He doesn't take the oath of revenge lightly. He will.
Oh yeah.
All of these different aspects. I like a lot of it. The oath doesn't matter. Per se, the words. It's the result. Like the oath is the result of your convictions up to it. So I like that aspect a lot.
And seen through Dervel and Arthur's lens in that one particular scene with Tristan and the Queen of how each handles Arthur's handling. How would you see that in that lens? Because Arthur handling that not necessarily the oath, but he feels that he has to turn in Tristan to Tristan's father.
Yep.
How do you think that goes into the theme of the book?
I mean, sure, the big thing is Arthur cares principally. If he believes in anything, it's the divine right of kings.
Mordred, yeah. Because
he believes the power of not just everything else kind of falls away. He believes that actual blood, lineage, and that kings have a special power in that their bloodline and the divine. There is an order to it that the gods actually respect. If he believes in anything at all, it is not just the right of kings, it's the divine right of kings. And that makes him top of the hierarchy principle, like the principal oath to everything.
The interesting thing there is conveniently it allows him not to rule and to live peacefully with Guinevere on the side. So it happens to align with his wants as well. So,
and how much is his wants dictated by his beliefs of he knows, believes deep down that he does not have the blood right to rule, and so now he has made himself comfortable with his wants of a small farm and less influence and not being king. How much of those go hand in hand, but that is the thing he is consistent about, is the right of the oath to kings being paramount to everything else.
Until they do not uphold their oath of protecting the kingdom, and Mordred clearly did not.
Yeah, and then it's basic, and him basically being proven wrong. Of that, there's not a divine power that will suddenly make a king grand and responsible.
And a big lesson, probably from Arthur from this book, that the title of being enemy of God is referring to Arthur himself. Kind of comes down to that message of you can't. If you try to please everybody, you'll please no one. He's called an enemy of God by both Christians and pagans, I believe. And both he's trying to appease by appeasing and not taking a side and sitting on the fence and saying, Christians will use their money, but he won't outright choose a side. And he's not there. The religion is superfluous to him. It's a means to his end. So he's not going to praise the pagan gods. He's not going to praise the Christian gods, because he wants them both to just to see the world as he sees it, as, hey, it's peace. I don't care about religion. Let's just figure out your squabbles. I will lead in a way that doesn't anger either of you. But by going that direction, he angers everybody. He is now the enemy of God, because the Christians see this and go, hey, Arthur is the one person in the kingdom that has the power to destroy these pagan beliefs. And the fact he does not do that makes him an enemy of God. The fact that he's sitting on that fence makes him...
And vice versa for the pagans. That he has the authority, he has the power, and he still doesn't denounce the Christians. He doesn't, other than taking their money sometimes when he needs it, he doesn't persecute the Christians at all. He tries to help them. He recognizes the baptism of their king, the first king Mordred, all these things. Or did I say it right? Yeah, Mordred.
King Mordred.
King Mordred.
Yeah. No, what's your thoughts on that? Of that message behind sitting on the? Do you think that someone in a position of power, or an elite, a ruler, whatever it might be, a king in this case, or somebody, a king in name, a king not in name only, because he's not King Arthur is not officially the king yet. Well, Mordred was. Do you think that there's a responsibility of an Arthurian person that's in power to choose a side? To say, hey, I'm taking side in this type of conflict or in this type of conflict, or where is there the merit in? Do you think Arthur had any credibility there? Take away his motives of, hey, he just wants peace. Do you think that's the right way for him to rule, of not picking a side between the pagans and Christians? Or do you think he should have picked a side and say, hey, I'm putting all my marbles on Team Christian or Team Pagan?
I personally, you play the game. You don't often get to play the game you want to play. You play the game that's dealt to you.
Mm-hmm.
And often Arthur did not, he thought he had a choice between, picking no side, and that was not an option on the table.
It was not.
And so he, by not playing the game played him. That's basically it.
You either play the Game of Thrones or
you don't. Yeah. So it's a personal thought on government in general of you run the risk of saying nothing to basically piss off everyone, and ultimately there are some things that the authority does need to take a stance on. There is, between two opposing worldviews and ways of life, there are sometimes irreconcilable differences, and either one will reign or the other, and there's no working out between the two.
And when your conflict's as serious as, which god are we going to accept in this land? And if both of them are not willing to coexist, that's the key. Because if each side is willing to go, hey, pagans, do your paganry, and Christians, do your Christianry.
Arthur in a different game board. If the Christians weren't as militant, if the pagans weren't as angry and hostile, then Arthur's strategy to not take a side would have been valid. But the fact he should have seen the signs of no, there's no third door here. It's one or the other. It's kill or be killed. And that's not going away. He thought it was a temporary thing. It was a fleeting moment. But it clearly wasn't. And I mean, how much can you blame Arthur for hoping that?
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe he was blind to it. Same thing with King Mordred. He was blind to how he was not fit to rule because he believed the divine right of kings, and also he wanted to leave. He wanted to give away power. So, I mean, Arthur seems like a very blind character very often, of blind to how the world actually works. Maybe man of science, a man of practical.
He's blind to his own wife's infidelity.
Yeah. And I think Dervell actually does say it at some point in book 1 of Arthur expects everyone else to have kind of the same mentality as him.
Mm-hmm.
That when Arthur is happy with Guinevere, that to him it seems unreasonable that anyone else should be unhappy because he's so happy.
Yeah.
I think that applies just down the line. Him finding religion silly. And then he just finds it ridiculous that everyone else could put any stock into it, when he should realize okay, yeah, I don't care, but clearly other people do.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'm not going to be able to just snap my fingers and make them stop caring. They're going to care. And so it's very, in many ways, just Arthur's kind of a narcissist. He has trouble thinking outside of his own head and imagining someone else having different thoughts than himself.
Yeah.
Applies somewhat to Guinevere as well.
They're made for each other.
How much does Arthur keep projecting his own wants, desires onto Guinevere? And ultimately, now I guess we don't get to see the private conversations. Maybe Guinevere is lying to him and kind of manipulating, saying maybe she kind of wants these things. But everything we see, Guinevere isn't particularly lying to him. We never really see Guinevere say, oh yeah, Arthur, I really would love to live on a farm the rest of my life.
Well, clearly she doesn't.
She doesn't. And so it's him projecting his worldview, his thoughts, his wants and desires onto her, onto everyone else.
Do you want to go into characters while we're on Guinevere? Yeah, I give characters a 4-star. Great.
4.25. Really great.
Yeah. It continues. Arthur and Guinevere, their relationship, we've already talked about in Thought Provoking a little bit, but continue that thought where Guinevere and Arthur both being narcissistic. I think that's probably the right term to use. And I don't know, definitionally, is that spot on? But how I think of the word, they do seem to be narcissistic.
Yeah.
But
in many ways,
it's a complicated type of narcissism, though. Not that the thing that narcissism isn't complicated, but Arthur specifically, his style of self, he seems like you have that moment he has with Dervel early on, and saying, "Hey, just pretend I gave you a scolding. I understand why I did the same thing, so I'm not going to scold you for it." So I don't want to put is he just straight a narcissist, or is it more complicated than that?
It's second order thinking. So there's different levels of thought. Base level thought is, what do I want?
Yeah.
Second level is, well, other people want things. How do I get to, or other people have desires, and how do I manipulate that to get what I want? And then further order thinking of, people think, outside. And so there's, the one-on-one, and then there's the third perspective of not only what do I want and what I want out of other people, but what should I want? And then beyond that, why do I want the things I want? What is actually good for society? Arthur has a lot of trouble getting to third order thinking, and has a huge problem imagining that anyone else has a different worldview than him. And I guess he acknowledges it, but he takes everyone else's worldviews very unseriously. And that's why it makes him such a narcissist, is he projects his own worldview onto everyone else, to an insane degree where he's blind to Dervel and why he's angry.
But the complication there with Arthur too is, this is what I thought was so thought provoking with book 1 as well, where it's that charisma versus the manipulator. He is selfish in his goals and his wants of this. This is clearly, he wants to live on the farm. He wants this peace. He does not want to be King Arthur. It seems it's that reluctant king hero
which is
type.
Normally seen as very noble. That's why we in America, why we denigrate, why we hold George Washington on a pedestal, is he was the reluctant leader of the United States. That people wanted to make him king, and he said no.
The person who wants it, you go, all right, why?
Yeah,
it seems more selfish in nature. Of if you want to rule and you want power, well, of course you want power because you want the control. And then if you reluctantly put in that position, it's put upon you. The people choose you. It feels all the more. It takes out the selfishness in that power. So for King Arthur, it's a little interesting because he doesn't want it, but it twists that, and it goes, well, he doesn't want it because he's selfish.
It goes so far that everyone around him goes, no, we're not wanting you to rule because we're just all sniffing your farts or anything. We're not that brown nosing you. There is no one better fit to rule, who is both smarter, kinder, all of the great things that make a good leader. You are the only person.
You have a responsibility.
You have a responsibility because you have the ability, and you are throwing it. You are actively throwing it to this complete child that is going to ruin us all. That is irresponsible. He wants to live on the farm so badly, he's willing to abdicate his responsibility.
The same way he abdicated with his 2 kids as well.
Yeah.
And think of this: you put a ruler, King Arthur, in this case. Imagine the nation as your child, and he is trying to abandon the nation just like he abandoned his other kids. And he is viewing the nation in the same sense of others are saying, hey, you have a responsibility to your adopted nation, your adopted children. You would say that to any father, but he is trying to avoid that and just do what he wants.
Yep.
And so it's that selfish nature, but in the same respect, you can see the noble desires of why Dervel follows him in the first place. This man clearly has honor to him and a certain respect, a certain charisma that makes you respect the individual. So, for example, the fact that he wants wants peace is a noble thing to want.
And especially for the time frame.
Exactly.
Everyone
the
else
desire
trying to
being peace
yeah.
is a good virtue. But when do you look at a good virtue that's tainted by selfish desires is the interesting part about it, because here's one line in this book specifically where Arthur, this is just I'll give a little not too much context. He says this. It's been ill-ruled, Derfil, ill-ruled. He spoke with a deep distaste. This is Arthur. To the rest of us, corrupt government was as natural as snow in winter or flowers in springtime, but Arthur was genuinely horrified by it. Now, just saying here that corrupt government to everybody else that's a part of life.
That's the norm.
Of course, government is corrupt. To Arthur, he's just disgusted. He's going, corrupt government? No, that's disgusting, because he looks in his own psyche going, he doesn't view himself as corrupt. The way he views the world, like you were saying, like we said last video or last review as well, he sees that as soon as he marries Guinevere, everybody ought to see this as his hope should spread across the world. His emotions, his desires should spread like wildfire, because that's where his motivations come from. That's just how he thinks. And so when viewing corrupt government, he sees how could government be corrupt? He's disgusted by it, because in his head, why would he ever be corrupt? He doesn't view himself as corrupt. Nobody views himself as a villain. Not saying Arthur's villain's a complicated anti-hero, I would say. He is. I love this depiction of Arthur specifically for this, because that whole him being in the position now of you finally see him being pushed to finally take some command here, where everybody wanted him to, because of the position he was in, but he's also now seen as the enemy of God, because did he do too little too late, and did he take the right sides? So he put himself in a bind here, and it was from his own doing.
Yeah, no, and God, I do love how complexly, because the amount of moments that I'm calling Arthur a narcissist, discuss with him on how he tried to gain back Dervel's friendship, all of these things, projecting his wants, desires onto Guinevere, and clearly not even like being blind to everything about her. However, you're right. I'm saying all these negatives, but he's a man of mercy in a time of great cruelty. Compare him to Merlin. And my God,
Merlin, we didn't talk about Merlin yet.
We haven't even talked about Merlin yet. Merlin's an ass. He's a funny ass. Hilarious. Wonderful character on the page. But man, awful person. Like, genuinely pretty damn awful. But he comes through, he saves the day sometimes. Yeah. He just so happens to kind of be on the hero side. But man, he somewhat. But no, his interactions, he's cruel.
Yeah.
He's deliberately manipulative, and not just manipulative to like maybe get an ultimate gain like Arthur is. Like, he genuinely thinks peace is an alternative, so he will manipulate and cajole all these things to get supposedly a good aim. Merlin just likes torturing people. He likes manipulating them for kicks. He's not a particularly good person at all. But yeah. What do you think about Merlin?
When they go to get the cauldron in part 1, doesn't he basically poison himself?
Maybe.
Is that what? Did I read too far into it?
You may have. I think. Okay, this goes into world building.
Yeah.
Book 1, I think it leaned far more in that the magic is not real, and that all of it was just, hooey. It's just
machinations of
it's magic tricks. It's just smoke and mirrors. Book 2, I think it leans a little bit more of I think there's a little bit of magic here. There's a something.
Something's afoot.
I think Bernard Cornwell leans far more into this being fantasy. There's some key moments, especially everything with the cauldron. I think the fact that Kynwyn, drugged out of her mind, goes up to the one spot and digs, and Dervel's like explanation, or Bernard Cornwell would speak through Dervel's going like, well, maybe this is the only spot that could dig. The fact that Kynwyn just kind of bolts straight there and digs at it with a mad fury. Merlin going into the cauldron, coming back out alive. pointing to the sky and this mist coming out. Like, is that Dervel's like spicing up the tale, which very well could be. That could be a very logical point. Or is the magic kind of real? I don't know.
I like that it's a little murky.
It's a lot more murky in this book.
I like it in that middle zone.
Because book 1, I would have easily said, like, no, magic isn't real. It's all smoke and mirrors, but we're seeing it from someone who believes it's real. I thought that was clear. I was firm on that. Now, I don't know. It could go either way.
But Merlin, what did you think about his character in this whole book? He took he was both more present, but also took his backseat.
Yeah.
He did both throughout the book.
Also, the one moment of like, oh, he's not a complete dick is him spending being the elderly grandpa to Dervel and Kindwin's children and just actually hanging around.
Good pop-pops.
Giving him, telling him fun stories and clearly actually caring about the children to at least some degree. Like, he always says that he doesn't care about Dervel, that you picked him up because he thought he was powerful in magic, and treats a bunch of people around him like crap and like tools. He seems to kind of give a shit about Kindwin's children, and maybe that's just the time he spent there. So it's the one reprieve of him not being a complete selfish asshole. That's why I liked that.
Yeah,
but up until that point, and then after. I don't know, even after, no, he was with Kindwin, and he was trying to help out.
Every character in here, so that Derfel writes about, besides Kindwin, because he loves Kindwin, you see that they are... no, that's not true at all. Because a lot are layered. Like Merlin and Arthur, I guess the two that we talked about a lot. They have their good and bad moments, but then you have your Lancelots who are just abhorred. And then you have Lancelot's brother.
I love hating Lancelot. It's my favorite thing in this book. I know.
How much did you love hating him here? Because he's made to be even worse than book 1.
Oh, it's great. It's lovely. It just builds on book 1. It was probably my favorite part about book 1 is just hating on Lancelot. And in this one, it just goes even further, and I love to hate him.
Which is antithetical to the tale usually told about Lancelot, where in Arthurian legends, it's typically Lancelot is the noble knight. The knight in shining armor, but his one vice, his one flaw, is his lust for Guinevere. Yeah. And man, if it wasn't just for lust, look at this hero that has the sin of lust. But in this case, it's all the sins.
It's all
everything. It's both with Guinevere. He's greedy. He's selfish. He's truly, when you're talking about all those things of a narcissist, like using that word with Arthur, that's why Arthur's a lot more complex. I think he has his selfish motives, but Lancelot is completely self-serving in another way.
I don't even put Arthur as being very selfish. I use narcissistic particularly, where I would say Guinevere is more selfish, opportunistic, and narcissistic, but honestly, less narcissistic. I think she understands people a little bit better than Arthur. She actually knows what other people want. There's a key moment by the end when she's about to kind of curse out Dervel and kind of treat him poorly again, and then takes a step back, says, "I'm sorry, Dervel. That was not right of me. I should not I should not criticize you, or I should not insult you while I am actively trying to ask for a favor." That's a level of clarity I don't think Arthur has. I don't think
just
Arthur has
right
that
over him.
That does. Just the fact that she can put herself in Dervel's shoes alone is better than what Arthur has.
Do you think Guinevere was she evil in this book?
She's a snake. But there's a lot of snakes. Do you consider
snakes evil?
Snakes are snakes. It's your fault for trusting a snake.
Fool me once.
Yeah, it's no one likes them. They're gonna sting you. They're gonna poison you. But don't bring a snake to the bed. Don't do that. How am I going to judge her any different from like Gunlius or Lancelot, or just honestly a bunch of even the good people, like all the allies? They've done terrible, horrible things that are less bad than Guinevere. Oh, Guinevere betrayed her husband. Okay. Durful burned children. You're dealing with, old post Jesus England. Post 500 AD is not the best time. AC.
AD. What's the difference actually? What do they stand for? Is it after? It's after
there's
Christ for one, the AC versus AD.
There's
I'm actually
ACE
curious.
after Common Era.
Okay, after Christ is AC.
AC AD.
AD is Latin for Anno Domini, or in the year of our Lord. Okay, they're both Christian. Wow, look at that.
Yeah,
and then BC is before. Got it.
Yeah.
And CE. Okay, what is versus CE? This is just something I've never looked up before.
ACE is after Common Era. It's the exact same time, but they took out the Christ tree to make it more neutral.
Yeah.
Which I respect. I respect. Who's the physicist guy
which physicist?
He was
astronomer.
An astronomer that is on PBS all the time. He always did.
Like very popular.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, I didn't think you were. I think that's the name that came to me. It was like, of course you'd think of Neil deGrasse Tyson. So I thought you were thinking about somebody else.
There was an interview I was seeing from him,
Yeah.
and he was saying like he opposes the use of the term like BC E and ACE because it strips away the Gregorian calendar, and that the Christians made the most accurate and best calendar that we use globally throughout history. And there's been a bunch of different calendars and most of them didn't stick. The Christians worked out the math and did it pretty darn well. And something we all use today to then just take that from we're going to use your system, but change the name and basically take away all the significant historical credit for it. He's like, no, you could just use we're using their calendar. We can at least call it what it's supposed to be called.
When the calendar,
why do that? It's cheap to take it.
When the calendar switched in the 1580s or something like that in the 1500s, when the Gregorian calendar changed, there was a block of I think over a week from maybe the dates October 4th to 15th are coming to mind. I could be off by a day or two, but they just don't exist in history because when we changed from the Julian calendar to, that's the name of it, right? The calendar from Rome, the Roman calendar, Julian calendar, to Gregorian calendar, it was so off that every year that passed since the time we used the Julian calendar, throughout 1500 years, our days, what the day should have been, was off by over a week, which is why they needed to change the Gregorian calendar. They added a bunch of things like leap years, and on certain, I think it's every 200 years, but you don't count it when it's on 1,000. That you go, but there's a
lot of math.
There's some math involved.
It was hard work. They figured it out. Got to give them credit. We can at least call it, BC. AC. The least we could
give it to the Christians in this.
Give it to the Christians. You gotta give them the calendar.
The pagans, they have maybe Arthur. We'll see what he chooses next book. We'll see what Arthur does. Do you think Arthur's going to take a side in book 3?
I think so.
You think so?
I think at this point, I think he's at least going to try.
Gotcha.
I think he's going to try, and it's going to be interesting. A flip has been switched in Arthur, seeing Arthur at the end of just yep. All of my morals, all of my entire worldview has been crushed before me. It's time to be. Nope. I'm gonna rule.
Let's give a man with that mentality power.
This is gonna be fun.
The depiction of Arthur is awesome in this, and I still kind of see why Dervel he admires Arthur in this way of, you clearly see their spat not to underplay what their spat was, but
years.
They had a grudge, an understandable one too, for years because of the Tristan and Queen Isolde situation. And having Arthur now in this position, I guess here's my question. Dervel in this book marries Cynwyn. We see him have children, and we see how he reacts when his children are killed before him. What did you think about Dervel's character, if there was an arc, but just him book 2 compared to book 1, specifically because book 1, I love the juxtaposition of this young first-time soldier battling for the first time and looking at admiring this Arthur. But now he's older, a warrior now. What did you like differently about this more grown Dervel?
Well, it definitely is Dervel's book, rather where, I think we talked about in book 1 being, hey, yeah, Dervel's the main point of view, he's the narrator, but it's Arthur's book. This is very clearly more Dervel's book.
You notice the pattern of him every book so far, which is 2, butchering people at the end. Just whether it's the person who, the druid from book 1, or if it's the killer of his daughter from book 2. He's always with a vengeance.
Yeah. We got to end the book with some righteous vengeance.
Yeah. But any perspective on him?
Oh, no. In a very hard, harsh world, he shows himself to be, he's the one writing the story, so take that with a grain of salt. But a man closer to more admirable qualities. A clearly good father to his children. Better than many in his time at least.
Yeah.
A good husband to Kaiwyn, and a actual, not way better than anyone else in this time of constant talk about marriage, where Dervel, despite not being married to Kaiwyn, actually acts in a way who is, he treats the sanctity of his relationship far more seriously than people who are married, like Guinevere.
Mm-hmm.
So he shows himself to be a good man, a character standing up for Tristan and his wife, defending those who have helped himself, helped him, and also just standing up for what is right, of knowing that this child is going to be killed, that they're in love. It is the same thing that he did with Kaiwyn and Arthur did with Guinevere. And he's like, I have to stand up for our friend Tristan for doing the same thing as me. And,
he's a loyal guy.
He's a loyal guy.
Even to Arthur until Arthur crosses a certain line.
But loyal to Nimue and, Merlin, going after the cauldron, doing everything he can to actually keep his word, and makes them sparingly and tries to, again, strong, difficult to make oaths, but he does hold them a lot stronger. Dervel's a great guy. Like, he's got his problems. It's, it's medieval England. So,
I wonder how Queen of Grain's going to shift that.
Pre-medieval, right?
Early medieval period, right? 500s we're talking, right? I know
What would that period actually be called?
Let's see.
I forget.
500s England.
So I didn't think it was medieval.
What period is that called? I thought there
was
early medieval. Yeah, early Middle Ages is what it's called. 500s.
Early Middle Ages. Okay.
By traditional, now largely discredited term, the Dark Ages. So, I didn't know that's now discredited.
That's the actual term, the Dark Ages.
Well, no, that's saying it's now largely discredited. It says that's weird. So it says period around the 500s in England is known as the early Middle Ages, also called the early medieval period, or by the traditional but now largely discredited term, the Dark Ages. This era is specifically known as the Anglo-Saxon period. I wonder why it's discredited. I can guess.
How do you discredit a title?
Now, I want to look more into that, because the Dark Ages is called that because fall of Rome, right? And then now you're left without a hegemony, and
it's
kind of led
the
into
show
this period of.
Yeah, you see all the technological marvels, the systems that, like, basically humans living in a place what they cannot build.
And also looking back to it, it's interesting, we'll get into the world. This was in book 1 too, but you see all the remnants of this Roman society here. Of it almost feels like that the world, the clock is going, and we're getting closer. It's now 600, 700, 800. You're progressing further in human history, yet you look back at this Roman Empire, which built things that you physically can't do right now because you're a bunch of more tribes. And I'm generalizing here, but especially in this story, they don't even have the size of armies that Rome once had that could go fight other battles, because they had such a large empire that in this case, the largest fights that we get is with hundreds.
Yeah.
And you think about that on the grand scale. That's hundreds of people. And that's a lot to them. That's 100 fighting men. Oh my God, we could take over a lot of land. And if you're talking about the Roman Empire, 100 people is like they're eating soup in that room over there.
That's a platoon.
Yeah. So here's what the answer says. It says the Dark Ages is discredited, and this is generative AI from Google. So take this with a grain of salt. But it says Dark Ages is discredited because it's a misnomer created by Renaissance humanists to glorify antiquity and denigrate the Middle Ages, which was a period of innovation and cultural achievements, not a widespread intellectual collapse. Modern historians avoid the term because it ignores the significant advancements, cultural contributions from groups like the Byzantine and Islamic worlds, and study progress that formed the basis of a later European development. Okay, I understand why they did it, and
it was a dark age for some groups of people.
It
was Britain's dark age. I think that's very fair. That's a fair thing to say.
Yeah.
The rest of the world did not have. Yeah, you're right. Like the Islamic world
Eastern would have not been as affected by the Romans' collapse as like Italy or England. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. No. But yeah. No. The Islamic world did have a huge
a golden
surge.
era too. What year was that? They had like an entire century. Let me see. Because I don't want to get my dates wrong.
I understand then of why change the term. If you're talking about global human history, calling it the Dark Ages, is inaccurate.
8th to 13th century was the golden age. It seems like that's just a quick look as well. So yeah, I understand why. But yeah, for a lot of places it was dark. For others, it was golden.
It would be Britain's Dark Age. That's a fair thing to say.
But early medieval ages, the 500s we're talking here, and characters we didn't talk about yet. Samson.
Oh, Bishop Samson.
And
the other snake.
The other snake, which describes him pretty well.
Yeah.
And he plays both sides, even giving information to Dervel.
Don't you love how smart he is?
He knows that they'll have to return the favor later because he gave the information. He knows that there's a good chance they lose this. Because, hey, even though he's on Lancelot's side right now, King Arthur's on the other side. We're talking 2016 New England Patriots, where they're down 28-3 in the Super Bowl, and then you probably don't know this piece. You don't.
I don't.
I'm actually. You're probably the first time you're hearing this, not the audience. But on the sidelines, there's footage of the Falcons players who New England was playing against. And the Falcons players are going, "Oh, we got this," but then one goes like, "Yeah, but that's Tom Brady." And then they went to lose the game when they were up 28-3 in the third quarter. Up 28-3 in the third quarter. Like that, you don't come back from that except if you're Tom Brady. And so Lancelot knows, we have
the whole
advantage.
Kingdom.
However,
this is Arthur.
This is Brady. So let me just in case give them the playbook of the Falcons. just so that if they win, like maybe I'll also get a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, no, that's a great analogy.
Maybe
that's perfect.
for surprise, maybe there's a sports analogy for all
Brady
these books.
Is the King Arthur of football.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, he plays both sides like that.
I love that, and especially him not. It's not an insignificant play too. It's not him telling Arthur or telling Dervel that Guinevere is being held at her winter palace. And then telling Lancelot to put more cards. He genuinely does help him. And that's the point where, like, Dervel can't really do much. Just going like, yeah, you were basically the one that tried to get us killed.
Yeah.
Probably. But also you did save Guinevere in a way. Ugh, Arthur's not going to kill you. Damn it.
And you know Arthur won't.
Yeah, you know he won't.
You know it.
It's like... You're the one that gave me information on Guinevere.
Who's the snakiest of snakes in this book? Because you're calling a lot of people snakes. You need to have who is the number one snake.
I think it's Bishop Samson.
You think so?
I think he's the biggest snake of them all. Guinevere, close second. Very close second.
Okay. Not a snake, just a doofus. Just a scoundrel. Mordred.
Oh, yeah.
Mordred's just a brat. He's a
You've
brat.
seen it. Also, how disappointing of... I do love how maybe a little bit is... You could have sympathy for, the child that was raised improperly and, terrible parents and all these
Clubbed
things.
foot,
The clubbed foot.
disabled.
All the sympathy you could have.
Mm-hmm.
But we see how Dervil is with other children. Like, not just his own, but other children in general. Generally fairly kind, honorably. The fact that Arthur's like, no, I want you to raise King Mordred is a good call. It's the right choice. And Dervil tries. He tries hard. And it's like, yeah, first week I had to beat that child. I couldn't.
He does go right to beat it. Well,
to be fair,
hey,
he tried to kill his child.
Yeah, wasn't it a little bit of a, hey, you need to calm down there, Mordred. You're a little out of line.
Yeah, no, he tried to poke his child's eye out with a needle.
Yeah.
I think a little bit of child beating is acceptable in that situation.
That's the lesson from this book.
I mean,
child abuse, asterisks.
if one child is actively trying to kill / abuse another child, some child abuse is maybe necessary.
Some measure of repercussions. Now, again,
yes.
You don't then, eye for an eye, don't try to poke out that child. Just go, hey, we need to make sure.
I'm going to make sure that you're going to have trouble sitting down for the next week. That's what you need.
And Mordred's written as such this obnoxious, spoiled brat with no clear value. Oh, yep.
Worse, too. Of no real intelligence behind it either. It's one thing if he was cruel but intelligent, and so he,
it's animalistic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not you would think that he has it against Dervil, even though Dervil is the one who raised and protected, but, Dervil was, a harsh hand, didn't let him do everything he wanted. And so I really did think that Mordred was actually going to be very cruel to Dervil. Instead, he just slaps him and then tries to get him killed when told, like, hey, you could do this. Like, oh, sure, why not? But I honestly thought he was going to be, like, monster level of, like, tell Dervil, like, I'm your king, send me your daughter type of deal. I thought he was going to be that level. Especially there was a comment of, like, your daughter, after he slapped him, was like, yeah, I'm not going to release you from your oath. I'm not going to send you away. It'd be a shame your daughters are very beautiful. Mm-hmm. I thought, like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm. And what could Dervil do? It's an oath to a king. I thought he was going to be far more cruel, but he clearly just kind of forgot about him. And then just when Bishop Samson was like, hey, send Dervil out, you can get him killed. He's like, yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I'll take this opportunity. Yeah. But no actual follow through, no planning.
If he was truly evil and had intelligence, he could torture Dervil way more.
Oh,
but
yeah.
He doesn't even have that level of competence to be a proper, like, his true evil can't even exist.
He doesn't have object permanence. That's the main thing. That's what it seems like. If you're not in front of him, you're not in danger.
Yeah.
It's just he can't think beyond what's in front of him. Yeah, just
a scoundrel.
How much do you love that scene of him being one? Everyone said, like, oh, Mordred's dead. Arthur, you will be king. And then Merlin going, yeah, about that plan. Points to the door, and Mordred comes walking in. And just, the whole room is just, oh, no.
Oh,
damn it. No, why? Why is our king alive?
Yep.
Why do you have to survive this?
Yep.
You see, God, I love that. I love that so much. Just everyone being real disappointed.
Oh,
God damn, that was the one good thing. That was the one good thing of all this. It would have been worth it.
All the suffering.
All the suffering would have been worth it if Mordred actually died.
Yep.
No. But then him just yelling like, no, take back the castle. Take it back. I am your king. And it's like, how? What do you want us to do? You have a plan for this? No, die for me. Die.
Yeah.
You'll love to hate him.
Yes. I know that the series has a show that was adapted that is not good. I've heard it's not good.
Okay.
But I'd be curious to see the Mordred actor, if anything. If it got to a second season, I don't even know if it did, because I heard very bad things about the series.
Yeah. It just seems...
that's the TV series, yeah.
How much you want to think that Joffrey is in somewhat based on King Mordred. A
Oh,
little bit, because I'm pretty
now,
sure
hold on, this
pretty sure
was-
Bernard Cornwell is an inspiration for George R. R. Martin, if I'm not mistaken. He's mentioned. George has mentioned it before.
He mentioned well, it said that came out. Okay. I looked up when did a Game of Thrones come out, and it showed the show. But yeah, he's mentioned that Cornwell's prose, especially his fight scenes,
Mhm.
you know, that Cornwell's somebody he really respects. Timeline-wise, actually, this came out in 1996, and a Game of Thrones book 1 came out in 1996. So they were publishing.
Probably not.
But also, though, Cornwell had a bunch of other series with probably similar archetypes.
Yeah,
Saxon series that I don't know enough. But
also, I doubt Bernard Cornwell is like
uniquely
is the only one of a cruel young king.
He invented it, of course. Yeah.
He invented it. Yes.
Okay. Do you want to go into plot?
Yeah. Let's go through it.
4 stars from me. Great plot.
Same here. 4 stars. Great plot.
Great plot. Yes.
If I had to pick, God, why am I always negative? I start great and I immediately go like, if I had to pick a negative.
If I had to pick,
God. The best part of the book for me, is the ending. I think it ends well. I was on the edge of my seat.
Mhm.
I loved everything about it. Everything from, Dervel chasing, running back to Kywin, all the way to the end, them trying to rescue Guinevere and the looming, like, what's going to be found. You know it. You've known it for like 2 books.
Yeah.
Or at least 1 whole book, but most of book 1. Beside the point. You know what's going to happen. You're on the edge of your seat, and then just the devastation in Arthur's face, everything about it. Then Arthur just going on. I love that moment of Arthur seemingly just, Dervel just going, oh, Arthur just wants to die. He wants to die in battle. And then recollection to Arthur's first mistress and telling him, like, when you think Arthur's down, when you think he has lost all hope, that is when he will surprise you. Like, it's at his lowest that he will rise all the higher. And just him going like, it is Arthur. I
don't know. Is that Led Zeppelin? Which one is that?
Yeah.
I just imagine that playing in the background as it's going.
Yeah, no, because, oh yeah. Arthur, a tiny army in comparison, and he just wipes out Lancelot. Not even close. And so many moments of Dervel going like, yeah, no, Lancelot could have won if he had an ounce of a spine. If he had any courage whatsoever, we would have lost. But he's a coward through and through. He is, I love it. I love it. I love hating on Lancelot. It's the greatest thing.
The 2 different, if we're going to go A, B plot for this story, A plot I have as Who Rules Britain, the whole machinations of who, is it Mordred, and then the eventual Arthur taking the place, and then the B plot being the Christians and pagans, and that background, and Isis, the gods being involved of are we here? Are we trying to return the old gods or this new Christian god? Those 2 being big elements, and also the frame narrative, which we've mentioned before, but the frame narrative of having a Dervel right in the future and then talk about the past. One interesting hook that kept me throughout, and this was a thing in book 1 too, but it's always something in the back of my mind that I just need to find out in book 3. I am thoroughly hooked on it. Why is Dervel Christian? I am so hooked on that question because I'm seeing constantly, and this was more pronounced in book 1 because you see, I loved some of the sequences we had where Dervel was in battle and he's going, hey, I'm a Christian man now, forgive me for my sins, but boy, do I miss the sound and rattle of a sword. And you're going, oh. But in this book, you just see how the Christians and Samson, and especially Samson, you look at the examples. You look at the priest of this religion that he eventually becomes Christian. I'm seeing all of these bad things on the Christian side.
The one is his friend, Lancelot's brother.
Ganelon, right?
No, starts with a G, but
yeah. Lancelot's brother. Let's make sure we have that. Ganelon, I thought.
Nope. It's not Ganelon.
It's not Ganelon? Let's see. We'll double check. I thought it was. Was it not?
No.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna find this quick. I didn't write down that. Yeah, but it's not coming up. I know it starts with a G.
I know.
Here we go. Damn it. Galahad.
Galahad.
Yeah,
yes.
That's it. Galahad.
Or forgotten brother Galahad.
Yeah, Galahad. Which,
Anyway.
by the way, great. Galahad's great.
He's the one good example of a Christian.
Yes.
And I think in this book or last book, I don't know which one, Dervell mentions like if more Christians were like more like him, that he would have become a Christian a lot sooner.
Yeah.
So he's actually great. Though although he did save King Mordred. This is his biggest mistake in this book.
I want to know that conversion moment. I want to know what convinces him. What happens there to make him such a devout believer?
I love all that. But what the next twist in this book is that we're seeing a little bit of evolution in Dervell's own beliefs. In him going through this story is making him go like question his Christian beliefs in the present. He has that moment of going like, I feel like I'm becoming less Christian, but like it's him touching the iron nail under his desk to ward off evil and going like, haven't done that in a long time. And so is he falling back into his pagan beliefs? I'm curious to see where he ends up in book 3. Will the moment him retelling how he fell into his faith with Christ, does him retelling that renew his faith again, or does something change? But yeah, I'm also fascinated with that. I love all those moments we get with the future Dervell, and especially the queen, and just love seeing the evolution. She's now pregnant, so she's I was praying for you, and I don't know. I think it was heartwarming. I liked it.
Do you also like the style of it split into 4 parts? Not necessarily chapter headers, but there's kind of breaks you can take. But how do you like that?
I thought it was very enjoyable.
What surprised me was the cauldron plotline ending with book 1 and Merlin saying we're going to go get the cauldron. I expected that to be subplot that existed throughout the whole narrative. Then part 1 was get cauldron. Part 2 was we lost cauldron. Part like 3 or 4 was I think we know where the cauldron is. It was more so that they obtained the cauldron in part 1 on that journey. And I didn't expect that to happen so quickly. I was like, oh, that's a surprise. Or was it part 2 they get the cauldron? But basically, early on in the book, part 1 or 2 they got it.
I think so.
Because part 1, end of part 1 wasn't the wedding, or no, it was the wedding and no, cauldron was part 1, I believe.
Was it part 1?
I have it jotted down quickly in my note. Part 1 cauldron, because I must have looked at this before.
Yes, part 1's the dark road, and the dark road is to the cauldron.
And then part 2 is the broken war. Part 3 is Camelot, and part 4 is the mysteries of Isis. So yeah, it ends with the with Guinevere and her seance with Lancelot people. So yeah, that is of all 4 of the parts. Did you have a favorite? You said that it was all so similar for you in emotional enjoyment, but did you have one? Like for me, it was part 1 was most exciting. Was all of it really neutral? Or now that we've been talking about it, this one stand out?
Part 4 is the standout for me again. Same thing with book 1.
Yep.
In many ways, part 1 had some great moments to me, but going for the cauldron and then immediately losing it, like it made the cauldron stuff seem irrelevant. I don't know. I lost interest in the cauldron itself. So
but if I had any plot, I'm going, where's this cauldron stuff going? Where are we going with this in book 3? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. Because again, this one was more so unifying. This was getting King Arthur in his position as King Arthur, and it was him being the enemy of God now. So what does he do with that? We'll see in book 3.
Another thing I'm looking forward to book 3 is Nimue. Because in book 1, there was a mention of like Nimue being fairly infamous for things that she's done. And so I'm going like, okay, she was not much in this book. Like the only real significant scene is her kind of giving I think it's more like narrator message on a Guinevere. I think that Nimue is talking to Dervell about Guinevere because Dervell's like going, well, guess Gunlius was right. She was always a whore. And Nimue kind of wagging the finger of like, no, don't. She's not a whore. Like, if you have to hate her for a multitude of other things, but she's not that. And given the whole lesson and basically stuff that we've talked about already, felt very author standing there and like, all right, I think people are not going to get the point, and I'm going to make a new movie kind of stand out a little bit. Like, I don't know, it felt a little out of character for the movie in the way that she talked. I thought it was very
on the nose, or
I just felt the author's hand in that moment.
Okay.
Rather than the movie all throughout the rest of the book is more just this animalistic beast. Doesn't seem that coherent to be able to talk about that, but whatever.
Yeah. Plot wise, any other like praises, complaints, anything in this section?
I guess if it was go anywhere here, the expectation of a big battle, like we had with book 1, it's probably a little lacking. Maybe I'm a little disappointed from some of the fight scenes and things like that. I if that were to go anywhere, it would go here. But no, it's hard to say that there was any fluff or things to cut, anything particular to add. I don't think so. But
yeah, it's also working within the frame again of an Arthurian tale. So it's cool how, a couple things I really appreciated in that lens, because I'm when I'm thinking about this too, my expectations are, hey, it's an Arthurian tale, obviously, and although I didn't get the battle sequence, I more put that in emotional impact and stuff. This is talking about, you're getting scenes that you know happen in other lore of, okay, we know, well, if Arthurian tale, if you know the general Arthurian legends, you know Lancelot and Guinevere end up together. How they end up together in this book is unique and interesting. And you know, for example, okay, it's King Arthur. How does he become king? Okay, here's the story of an interesting King Arthur and how he ends up in this position. It kind of all these questions. Here's another thing. The kind of a little bit of a faint twist on the tale we know of Lancelot being somebody that is admirable, but now guess what? In this tale, he's awful. And then another thing I appreciate, the Round Table. How the Round Table is, as we know, it's seen as this extremely compelling pact and oath-bound, and it changed the landscape. Wow. And from Dervel's point of view, the Round Table was something kind of just to write off.
It was cringy.
It was very sad. And the reason that we today see the Round Table like this is because likely Dervel wrote this down, and Queen Igraine looks at that and goes, yeah, no, Round Table is more important than that. Change what Dervel said here. And that's why we've reviewed the Round Table like this. So all that stuff, like Cornwell does a great job at including a historicity that feels real, which we'll get into world building next. But just how he weaves everything in is very impressive for an Arthurian tale too. So yeah,
I agree with everything you said there.
Want to go world building then? Because that Round Table stuff for me was like very cool world building. I give it a 4.25. Really great world building.
4.5. Spectacular world building. It's the combination of from book 1, knowing that Dervel is, stretching the truth a little bit to make this a bit more of an exciting tale. And so we already have that twisting of truth. And then we have the knowledge that the queen is also changing the story as well to what we know. And so seeing this, if there are three categories of the truth about King Arthur, if there is a truth, if King Arthur is even real. So assuming King Arthur in some way, in some fashion, was real. Prerequisite. The truth that we will never really know. And then the myth and legends that we have today. This is such a fun gap to bridge those two together of a more realistic, whatever the truth may be closer to, the Dervel twists it to make an entertaining tale. So it is in your head, you're going like, I know this isn't it is Dervel spicing up the story, so it makes it feel more realistic in that sense. And then knowing that, the legends I already know, it was twisted from this story. That is a fun mental space to put yourself in, and it makes the world, it makes the story, it makes Dark Ages for Britain, the Britain's Dark Ages feel real. I thought it's spectacular. It puts me into this time and place.
The
perfectly.
only thing missing is the battles, where I got the shield walls and how cool the horsies are. But yeah, everything's true. That it puts you in that perfect in between space. I feel like this is the real Arthurian tale. It's a great spin, and I put down a few small moments because I didn't want to forget them, but that's the struggle with these. We're gonna forget a bunch of the book and not mention everything. But one small thing I wanted to note was early on when some of Dervel's men went with him on the cauldron journey and down the broken road. Some
the
did
dark
not.
road.
Yes, the dark road. Some went down on that path with him, and some did not. So when they were back with their whole unit and people were with Dervel again, he gave those who went to the cauldron with him a 5-pointed star, and he gave the people who did not go on the cauldron journey a 4-pointed star. And just as a little explanation of warriors like to be encouraged and shown their valor. It was kind of his badge to show who went through the dark road with him. And these, hey, it could upset the other warriors, but also you need to reward this kind of noble behavior and people that stuck with you and did something that was arduous and hard. So
also another significant difference between him and Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
How much Arthur is willing to kind of make his allies and his friends sacrifice for the sake of appeasement of others.
Yeah.
And Dervel even mentions it of Arthur would not like this. He wants all men, all people to be equal, equal among kings and all this stuff. And Dervel knowing a bit more of him, it's not even for himself. He's not doing it because he wants to punish him. He's thinking from his soldiers' perspective of knowing I know that my soldiers would feel slighted that they did this incredibly difficult journey with me, and they're not even recognized and not given that special attention that I as a leader need to give them. And that it's again Dervel not thinking just from his own mind of thinking into his soldiers. What do my soldiers want? And I'm going to reward them. It's for them, and putting himself in their shoes. Again, a difference between Dervel and Arthur, but I like that too.
Yes. It's almost looking at Dervel like, should he be in Arthur's position? Would the world be better off?
He's definitely not as technically or battle smart. Arthur's clearly a very good leader.
Yeah,
he's a good
charismatic.
judge. He knows how roads work. He's interested in architecture, all the practical things of a leader that the person needed to get you out to build society again. Arthur seems to be the guy. But as far as honorable, more closer, again, grain of salt, it is medieval, but closer to honorable and of good character. Yeah, it's Dervel.
I also like it. The other two things we mentioned before, the magic in here, it's murkier. Yep. That kind of adds also to the historicity versus the myth and history combined, but also the absence of Rome. And you kind of know, you see that the society that was, and now you're in the remnants of this fighting Britain. So the amount of research that Cornwell does, we already knew this from book one as well, but the amount of research he does into the minutia and just the historical period shows. So, yeah. Great job. Really great job. Yes.
Spectacular job.
What'd you give Prose out of 5 stars?
Again, same score, 4.5. Spectacular prose.
I gave this a 4.5, spectacular prose. And I have a line here to read.
Wonderful.
I've been waiting with this tab here. We've got, so here's Cornwell's prose. This is the scene where he is punishing the man who killed his daughter. So here we go. At dawn, we were still at the sea palace. We should have left, for some of the spearmen had escaped the huts when the horsemen had at last been summoned from the hill by Arthur's horn, and those fugitives would be spreading the alarm north to Dumnonia, but Arthur seemed incapable of decision. He was like a man stunned. He was still weeping as the dawn edged the world with light. Dinas and Lavaine died then. They died at the creek's edge. I am not, I think, a cruel man, but their deaths were very cruel and very long. Nimue arranged those deaths, and all the while, as their souls gave up the flesh, she hissed the name Diane in their ears. They were not men by the time they died, and their tongues had gone, and they had just one eye apiece, and that small mercy was only given to them so that they could see the manner of their next bout of pain, and see they did as they did. The last thing either saw was the bright piece of hair on Hwalbane's hilt as I finished what Nimue had begun. The twins were mere things by then, things of blood and shuddering terror, and when they were dead I kissed the little scrap of hair, then carried it to one of the braziers on the palace's arcades and tossed it into the embers so that no fragment of Diane's soul was left wandering the earth. Nimue did the same with the cut plate of Merlin's beard. We left the twins' bodies lying on their left sides besides the sea, and in the rising sun, gulls came down to tear at the tortured flesh with their long, hooked beaks. I mean, how much more descriptive do you get of what you do with two dead bodies? him describing the amount of fear and terror put into their psyche without overdoing it. It's that touch of he describes it gutturally, but does not shove it in your face like, look, gut and gore and blood and guts. He describes it in a way that, oh, you get what he did. It's almost he presents you the atrocity, but keeps a veil from not letting you experience exactly what he saw in front of him and experienced. It's great. It's so lovely.
It reminded me of another thing I did want to ask you. It just is another further difference between Arthur and Dervel.
Oh yeah, the theme of today's video.
It's been the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that moment for Dervel, he lost his daughter. And you get to see his worldview and him pushed to the limit and breaking point of his emotional high. And where does he direct his anger toward it? And ultimately, he kills the people responsible for killing his daughter in the most brutal, painful way possible. But he does not go on to treat anyone else from Lancelot's army cruelly. He doesn't even really treat Lancelot any worse than normal. He got his revenge on the individuals that killed his daughter, and that's about it. You see the betrayal when Guinevere is shown as, that Lancelot has slept with Guinevere and that Guinevere betrayed Arthur. You see Arthur just complete, no mercy from him, from anybody, and complete acts of cruelty, deception, all these things. You see where Arthur's anger goes.
Yeah.
And when he is slighted, when he is wronged, everyone in his path suffers, not just the people responsible. I just find that you see both people pushed in ways to their limit and testing them.
Yeah.
One actually hurts the people responsible. The other is just nope, I'm going to be, no mercy for anyone. Hey, son that I've basically abandoned, I'm going to cut off your hand now. I don't know. He's cruel to basically everyone. That's all I'm saying. It's one thing to okay, I wouldn't go this far, but his cruelty toward Guinevere, the person who betrayed him, understandable. Is it the right thing to do to basically keep her a prisoner forever? No. But at least the person who wronged him, betrayed him. Lancelot, you were supposed to be my friend, you were supposed to be an ally, and you betrayed me. So fair enough. Everyone else really needed to, where's all that Arthur mercy and kindness? Oh, that's gone.
No spoilers at all. I'm not saying spoilers, but it reminds me of a certain leader in Sun Eater. Not to that extent, but you remember makes a decision at one point, and you go oh. But at the same time, the leader's respected. So very, very different kind of sense. But what I'm getting at with Arthur is you're pushing down hey, Arthur's awful and all these things. I think he does to the line of it's right there. He
does.
It's right there of I understand Arthur.
Oh yeah, I
don't despise Arthur, but it's one of those. It's a complicated leader where it's kind of that message behind. Hey, you look at leaders in stories, whether it's a government or a king, whatever it is, and this Arthur is very much different than just a heroic tale Arthur that we know, but is also he's complicated. He's in that mix of.
Well,
I'm touching the nail to touch off your demonic
evil,
energy
yeah,
you're giving
touch the
to
metal.
Okay,
but no, he's
very
skips over
yeah.
all of the years of peace that Arthur does bring. Like when Arthur is in his element and actually ruling and not fighting,
it's complicated. Yeah,
he's a competent leader. And so, yeah, no, he has a lot of positive qualities of a leader.
And certainly negatives, yeah.
But the book focuses on a lot of the negatives. That's just the nature of
enemy
book
of
two.
God.
So, yeah, no, I'm negative on him, but I think that's what the book is.
Well, here's something I appreciated too, where you're saying those years, he did create years of peace, and it's something in this book too that there was a scene where I think it was the Battle of Aiel, or I'm forgetting the context for this specific one, but basically he skips over the battle, says, "Hey, we won," and then goes to describe it, but then kind of gets into more details later. This is another example of the prose real quick. And this was in our Patreon book club. This was brought up as a scene to show Bernard Cornwell's prose. So this is this one. "We won the battle. Igraine will want me to say more. She wants great heroics, and they were there, but there were also cowards present, and other men who fouled their breaches in their terror, yet still kept to the shield wall. There were men who killed no one, but just defended desperately, and there were men who gave the poets new challenges to find words to express their deeds. It was, in short, a battle. Friends died, Cavan was won, friends were wounded, Caluc was won, and other friends lived untouched, like Galahad, Tristan, and Arthur. I took an axe below to my left shoulder, and though my mailcoat took most of the blade's force, the wound still took weeks to heal, and to this day, there is a ragged red scar that aches in the cold weather." And then kind of just showing that summary of the battle of, hey, there were cowards present, there were heroes, but not all battles are heroics. Just like we understand, Arthur's not just a hero; he's a complicated man. But yeah, the prose in here spectacular as always. Next one, we'll get a 5 if there's like an insane battle sequence, and I'm like, oh
yeah, sounds about right.
I can't wait. Anything else on Enemy of God, Book 2 of the Warlord Chronicles? And we'll have one more video on this when we finish up the trilogy.
No, I'm really happy we're continuing on with the series. Great time. Bernard Cornwell's it's lovely reading a very competent author. I enjoy it. That is not throwing shade at any previous author. You just
appreciate the skill.
I admire his skill.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something really to appreciate and wonder on.
Yeah, even if it doesn't emotionally floor me one book to the next, I can always go, oh, this is going to be, he's a professional.
There's some books out there where some books will bring you in and you're enjoyable because of the emotions it brings out of you, which some would say is the point of a lot of different books. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But there's something nice in the consistency of just a really good author writing it, of you get enjoyment out of just the craft of the writing rather than only the emotions it brings out of you. Like, he's just such a damn good writer that boring scenes or in the hands of another author would be boring. But Bernard Cornwell makes it interesting, makes it entertaining. He's just really great at his craft.
You can put Febreze on the puke. You can even make it. You can be around puke in a bad product, but at least it smells good. That's not. We're not sponsored by Febreze either. I feel like we've been shouting out so many companies. We have to utilize this. We have to be Arthur and start thinking more selfishly.
How can we manipulate these companies to give us money?
That's the question. That's the question.
Yeah. Those are hard. Those are hard things for me to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
We hope you all like this book review. This was Enemy of God, Bernard Cornwell. We will see you for book 3, but also check out our next episode, which is coming either every Monday or Friday. We'll see you there.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.